I think we're live. What's going on? I think YouTube, you guys are here right now. This is FlexRx episode 7. We are on episode 7. Super pumped for this one. So we're going on a streak, which is pretty cool. So FlexRx is where we're going to be talking about fitness, lifestyle, fitness, learning, enduring, on our way to excellence. That is what FlexRx stands for. So today we're going to be diving in. I just got back from Austin, Texas. Had a great trip, and I was at a mastermind situation with my mentor and the champion development group. So really excited about that. And I have a couple of takeaways I'm going to be sharing with you guys when we get into today's topic. As always, if you have questions for me today, fitness, nutrition wise, kind of even entrepreneur wise, this show, what I'm really excited for is it's kind of like I'm a fitness coach. It's what I love to do. I love fitness, getting big and beefy. That's a goal in mind. But also when it comes to this show specifically, talking about a little bit of entrepreneurship, the lessons I've learned in leadership, the mistakes that I've made in leadership, entrepreneurship, fitness, all those kinds of things. So this is kind of something as it is, I want to provide value for you guys, but also it's a way for me to document my life in a way and the lessons I learned along the way. So today's topic, everybody, what we're going to be diving into is 5 lessons that I'm taking away from this event that I was at last weekend, where I had my first speaking from stage opportunity. Previously, I've done speaking opportunities. I've taught college courses in the past. They were like intro freshman courses. I've taught a couple things along those lines. I've done some small setting like Zoom kind of teachings, but this was the first time I was on a stage. It was only like a 6-inch platform, above. But first time I had this experience where I was speaking in front of 50 other entrepreneurs on how to build their business. Or at least in my case, I've been an entrepreneur for 9 years in terms of coaching. I've coached me and the team have coached over 1,200 people to this day. So it's just kind of relaying all the mistakes I've made along the way and helping people avoid making those. Because a quote, don't know who it's by, it may be Ben Franklin, is the way we learn is through mistakes, but it doesn't have to be your own. That's the way we kind of learn. So what I want to talk you guys through is going to be the 5 lessons I learned from this last weekend, being at my first opportunity to speak in front of a live audience on stage, and then give a little bit of things that I hope will resonate for you that you can take if you're a content creator, if you're running a business, if you have goals for running a business, and hopefully something is going to be useful for you moving forward. So prepared a little lesson. And so what we're going to dive into. So the first thing, I got 5 big lessons that this gave me. So 5 big lessons. Clearing up the Jamboard, and we're going to dive right in. So the first lesson that I got from this experience this last weekend, and there's a quote, we often have to be reminded more than we need to be taught new things. So a lot of the things I'm going to go over today are probably going to be along those lines. And so this first piece is very important. So let's put it here. 5 things I learned from my first speaking engagement. Opportunity. We'll put it like that. The first thing is a reminder: power of preparation. The power of preparation. So for me, I don't know if you guys know my backstory, probably not, but I've had a huge fear of public speaking since I was a young lad back in my day. So for pharmacy school rotations, or just pharmacy school in general, I was always nervous when we have to give a presentation on, some kind of project. So that was always something where I would stutter my way through it. Also in high school, I stepped down as class president after junior year in high school. I stepped down to vice president because I was too scared to give a speech at our graduation out of high school because I was just very scared of public speaking. And so this last weekend, this is the most comfortable I've ever felt in speaking to many people, because right now this doesn't count. I'm talking to a camera, but I appreciate every one of you guys for joining me live. But from this situation, so what did I learn? Why was I so much more comfortable in this setting rather than previous settings? So if you're someone who you're an entrepreneur and you have to address a team, if you're someone who wants to, you have a realm of specialty where you want to be able to broadcast that to other people, I'm going to share what worked for me. And so this last weekend, I was very comfortable because of the power of preparation. So for me, I ran through my slide deck around 6 times, and I was able to time myself. I had 75 minutes for my presentation, and so that had to include 15-minute Q&A. So I was kind of doing some time trials, ran through it, said it in my head or out loud the way that I was going to say it. So 6 run-throughs, but still there's room for improvement here because I know Alex Hormozi in his book launch, I think he said he did 30 or 40 run-throughs of his 1 to 2 hour presentation. So there's levels to this, but still looking to get better. But this is the most comfortable I've ever felt in that situation. That just goes to the power of preparation. Before this, I took 15 minutes to try to prepare, my thoughts, get concise with it so that I'm not saying a lot, which has also been something that I struggled with in the past. So the first lesson is the power of preparation, 6 run-throughs. I lacked this back in high school when I struggled and had a fear of public speaking. I just knew I wouldn't be prepared and I would stutter my way through something. Back in pharmacy school, I didn't know the topics well enough off the top of my head. I didn't prepare hard enough, and that's why I would be nervous and stuttering. So for me, this preparation piece, it really helped me not feel that anxiety going into that actual presentation. And that was a big lesson for me taking out of it. I also learned that, for me, the slides, so everyone's going to have their secret sauce when it comes to presenting. For me, the slides are more for me than they were for the audience. I don't get up in public and I won't talk on this and just go off of nothing. I have, prepared notes. So for me, the power of preparation is, for some people, it's going to work. Put your own notes within the slides of what you're going to talk about. When you go up to present, some people can go off, off the noggin, off the cuff, respect. That's not me, but find your own way where you're comfortable and you can recall the stories or recall the points that you want to make. And that I found was very helpful for me. So some of my bullet points on the slides were just George, smiley face. I'm like, oh yeah, George. All right, so I got a story here. And then you can recall those things. So for me, that worked. And I told everyone that, the slides are more for me than they are for you guys. And that helped me. And then also lock in. So for me, lock in just means, I used to do this in pharmacy school too. When I had an exam coming up, the 30 minutes, the hour before, I'm running through, the slide decks again, getting prepared, because that's going to be your soonest recall. And speaking of recall, I noticed even with high levels of preparation, couldn't go with off-the-cuff stories when I'm on the spot. So whatever I recall or whatever I practice and the stories that I use there, that's going to be what's kind of fresh of mind. So for you, if you're going to be presenting, if you have your notes, sometimes when you are actually in the presentation settings, you may, not be able to come up with new stories on the cuff. So prepare. So that is going to be the first bullet point that I'm taking away from this experience. I just was reminded of how important it is to prepare. And that for me, someone who has I think even in the Nickelodeon days or something, a lot of people have a fear of public speaking. Nightmare for me. But this, last weekend, just because I was prepared, I knew what I wanted to kind of say. I felt better. I was nervous that the topic that I was going to touch on, it was 8 ways to how to destroy your business in 90 days or less. If I condense all my 9 years of mistakes into a 90-day time frame, I would be able to take my business all the way to 0. And so pretty much just telling a lot of the stories of 8 things that you could do to destroy your business. And a lot of them had to do with stories that in my 9 years, learning experiences that I've had. So that's what I got to talk about. Let's go into number 2. So the second thing that I learned coming out of this experience, number 2 is going to be, it's not about you. And this is going to be for the content creators out there. So content creators, again, if you're somebody who's maybe an entrepreneur, you have to address a team. You're a team leader. It's not about you. And there was an interesting situation that I had come for me this last weekend. So the person before me was Mike, my mentor in the CEO of Champion Development. So he's running the event, and I'm going to be the next speaker. And so at this time, I was starting to get nervous a little bit. It was 30 minutes to when I was going to talk. And I'm sitting in the front row because that's just something I do since college days. And it hit me. I was like, man, is what I'm going to talk about going to resonate for anybody? Am I going to look awkward up there? Or people just not going to like what I'm talking about? And I started to get kind of anxious. Started to feel the nerves, and I started to feel that pit in my stomach. But when I started, I had a frame shift where it was just it's not about me. It's about, just delivering the value and the stories that can be helpful to the audience. It was interesting for me. I felt a physical flushing of that anxiety when I just shifted the frame from, oh, how are people going to perceive me? But then, flipping that and just being in a place of service. Okay, how is this going to be useful for the other people? How can I serve them? How can these stories be useful and help them avoid mistakes that I've made in my entrepreneurial journey, especially in coaching? What stories can I tell, the people watching this, or in the content that I do? What are the stories of the mistakes that I've made that can help other people, miss that booby trap, step over that landmine? And that's kind of the game plan. And that I felt a really good, it was interesting. It was like a physical feeling of just that pit in my stomach kind of went away. So that goes to speaking of, it's not about you. It's about, if you focus on providing the value to other people, and if you get into a place, people talk about a flow state, I feel that when you're in that flow state, it's usually when you're in a place of service. Your focus is not on how you're perceived. It's not about you. It's on the other people and how you can help them, get to their goals, overcome their obstacles. And that I found was very, very interesting. So content creators out there, I think that can be a useful reminder, or, if you're a leader in a certain position, kind of got to address people. I think that having that as the goal, being in a mindset of service, can often be very helpful. I found that was helpful for me. Number 3 is going to be instruction is less than that of inspiration. So inspiration over instruction. And what does this one mean? So this one means that, and this can be from, if you have a service-based business, if you are a content creator, if you are an entrepreneur, if you were a coach. What I think this was a topic that I covered, but stories land much harder than data. And an example here is if I say that one of my slides was, I said one of the ways to destroy your business in 90 days or less is just don't talk to anybody. If you don't talk to anyone, no one knows about your stuff. You can't get on a enrollment opportunity, and you're just not going to make any sales. So it's a good way to destroy your business. If you want to grow your business, just don't do that. But one of the subcategories was don't have difficult conversations. If you want to destroy your business, avoid difficult conversations. And so if I just end there, that's instruction. I'm saying don't do X. But when you can depict a story based on it, people remember the story rather than the instruction. So the inspiration pieces usually lead by example or have stories. So for me, I'll share with you guys, this is part of my presentation where we've had a situation where in HFP, and I'm always trying to learn and make the product, the service that we deliver in HFP better, of course. And that means that, 7 years ago, 5 years ago, I'm going to eat dirt. I'm going to scrape my knees. Mistakes are going to happen if you're just in the game long enough. So when I depicted this piece of, have difficult conversations if you want to have a successful business, I depicted a story about like a time where we made a mistake on our end, which ultimately falls on me in terms of training better, or in terms of equipping my team with the tools to be successful. And so we had somebody who just, wasn't happy, had a difficult conversation, and then leaned into that. But that opportunity, I found out, okay, we dropped the ball here. You're right. And so, we remedied that. And so because I took ownership there, had the difficult conversation, that person actually came back into the community, joined back into, the program at that time, and then worked together and had an amazing experience. So we went from a place of very frustrated with a certain experience. We remedied that. And then ultimately me and the team were able to learn, get better, took ownership, found feedback and ways to get better. And then, left on a good, righted the situation. And then that person came back into the program and then had an amazing experience. And so we went from someone who was frustrated to then had an amazing experience. And now they went from a place of, not being so happy with the program at the time. We learned, we got great feedback, and then we learned so these mistakes never happened again. So in that case, when I tell that story to people, that lands a lot differently than just say go have difficult conversations. But when you tell a story of where I've had that experience, where I had to lean into a difficult conversation to make the program better, to make me and the team better, that lands a lot differently. So mistakes that I've made in my journey, building a business, in fitness, when I tell you guys that I gained 34 pounds in 2.5 months of bulking, that was a big mistake. So would I do that now? But no, I learned. And so it's very important to learn lessons, get feedback, and get better. And so in this case, inspiration over instruction. So don't just tell people what to do, but lead by example, inspire, and usually can inspire through stories. Stories will land. And I learned that from the other speakers as well, because they would say some data point and then they would tell a story of okay, how they messed it up. I'm okay, that makes a lot more sense now. So have difficult conversations. That was one of the pieces of it. The next one that I want to get into is going to be number 4. So number 4 is going to be the power of community. Power of community. So this is more just being in the room with, other people that are pushing themselves to get better. So in the business place, I'm an entrepreneur, being around other entrepreneurs at higher levels than I am, it's really inspiring. And so being around that too is sometimes I see things that other people see things that I don't see. So in HFP, we have an amazing community, and someone can say, hey, I'm struggling with, my satiety on the weekends, and I tend to overconsume calories on those days. And so they'll say something like that. And then someone else may say, oh, are you trying XYZ? This works well for me. Somebody else in the community may say, oh, well, actually, I think it's just a simple, fix. For me, this last weekend, we just had, simple changes in just like kind of the wording that we used. So when someone submits an application for HFP, we pretty much have a strategy call. We talk about, okay, so what's your obstacle? Like, why is now a good time? And we get really clear on what is the obstacle, keeping, that person from getting to where they want to go. So we talk strategy. But the way we would open up these conversations is we're like, oh, let's hop on a 10-minute call. And it just didn't sound as personalized as it is when me and the team were reviewing everything, reviewing applications, and we want to make it something that's, going to be individualized. So just like little things like that to just do it a little bit better. And so there's little stones you can unturn. So in the fitness area too, it's like, okay, I'm struggling with hunger. So I was like, okay, well, like, what are you eating on a daily basis? Oh, I'm eating, protein bars and a lot of protein shakes. Well, of course, if you're just drinking your protein and having these condensed forms of calories in terms of these protein bars, probably there's room for improvement if you get more vegetables and chewed forms of protein. So for that piece too, it's really important, the power of community. So usually it's going to be, having people around you that are going to see opportunities that you may not see for yourself. So very valuable to have that sense of community. Also in that community sense too, something too that was really cool is got my brown belt. So something really cool this last weekend is, the champion development team, they awarded 3 brown belts. So it goes white, yellow, green, blue, purple, brown. Earned the brown belt, one of 3 given away, which was very, very cool. And so very exciting to, now move towards the black belt. So it kind of also, when you have people that are overachieving around you, it's very inspiring and can help you level up as well. So it was really cool to be in that room, other badasses, and really learn from them, which is also something we try to, put people in a position of in HFP. We have our HFP MVP. So we try to give people that recognition. And then people know they can go to that person for support or learning what's actually working. So the power of community can be huge in being inspiring and also helping other people. So we're going to go into number 5. And so this one's going to be probably more specific to the actual like presentation piece of things. And so that's going to be number 5 is the old, man, that sounds cringe and cliche, but have fun. And I don't just mean like a generic, like, oh, like have fun to just have fun. But like when it comes to like addressing a team or like giving a presentation, there's a quote, it's by Gandhi, be the change you want to see. And the way that I kind of internalize that quote is often like people will mirror. So be the change you want to see. People will mirror the way you show up. So if I show up on stage, I look nervous, I'm saying, I don't know what I'm doing. People are also going to probably feel as uncomfortable as I am. But if I go in there and I'm kind of like having a good time, cracking whatever jokes or just having a good time, people are going to reciprocate that and maybe, enjoy it a little bit more rather than they will feel the way that you're coming off. So there's a quote by Chase. It was Chase Hughes, and he said that confidence is just being comfortable. Confidence is just being comfortable. So being comfortable in situations. And so I felt that was one of my favorite definitions for confidence. So just being comfortable in certain scenarios. And I feel that in order to be comfortable, you got to be prepared. You got to be okay with either outcome. And I feel like that's where you can exude confidence. It's just being, again, comfortable. And so that's by Chase Hughes. He's got a great book. And he was also a guest speaker, not at the event, but on Zoom in the Champ Dev community, which was really, really cool. So when that comes, so be the change you want to see. And that comes to the place of if you're going to, be addressing a team or even if you're having a one-on-one conversation, if you show up a certain way, people are more likely to show up the way that you show up. So, show up powerfully, be dependable, honestly, smile when you show up. And people are usually going to reciprocate that more often than not. And if you're having a good time, they're more likely to have a good time. So that's 5 lessons I got from this event that I was at this last weekend, having the opportunity to present on a stage platform for, the first time that I've ever been able to. And I feel like it went well. Of course, I'm always going to be, there's always room for improvements, but I'm really happy with how it went. And I feel that the challenge is very, worthwhile for me. So that's going to do it for today's topic. And now let's get into some Q&A. Let's see what we got. So, Loy Mo, what is your favorite thing in life? I don't know. I mean, ice cream's up there, but I haven't been eating so much ice cream lately. What is my favorite thing in life? I don't know, honestly. That's I don't know, but I really do enjoy. I'll go into my perfect day because I don't know what my favorite thing is, but my perfect day. So I wake up, I get a lifting session in, I get a workout in, feel good. Then I come home, get into the office for an hour or two, just make sure that I'm ahead of the work day, work week. And then I go do something like athletic, being like ultimate frisbee or pickleball, could even be snowboarding. And then I get home at a reasonable time and I get to sleep at a reasonable time. Probably good food somewhere along those lines, but that's kind of what my perfect day is. Something I really do enjoy right now. And I think it's what's your favorite thing is a seasonal thing. I do enjoy ultimate frisbee right now a lot. Really been liking that. All right, let's go. Bernie. Hey, Kevin, it is cool you share your life efforts. Any suggestions to lose belly fat but still be able to eat pizza, pasta, and ice cream? It's funny you mentioned that because I am leaving for Italy. Also, there will not be a FlexRx next week because I will be in Italy. But you said pizza, pasta, ice cream. I would say gelato, though. But let's go into this. So in terms of share screen. Oh, man, I can't see the question anymore. But as far as like the big controllables, you can totally do that. And so there's going to be a couple points that I want to make. I think I'm going to have 3 of them. So as far as if you want to lose belly fat, all you got to do is have a calorie deficit. It doesn't matter what you eat. It could even, no one's going to get mad at this because it's a fact, but you could just eat Pop-Tarts. If you have 5 Pop-Tarts for the whole day, it's 1,000 calories. You're probably going to be in a deficit unless you're very, very small and very, very inactive. You will lose weight. So, but like, of course, protein then is going to matter for lean body mass, et cetera, et cetera. But it depends. It's not like, it is not the what you eat, it's how much. Because I think point number 2 is you can have 50 grams of ice cream, or you could have 500 grams of ice cream. That's going to be 10x the calories. So we all have this kind of calorie, quote unquote, budget that, you know, if I run, let's say I'm 6'2", 220, 230 pounds right now. Let's say my body runs at like 2,800 or 3,000 calories. So if I eat under there at 2,500 calories and I'm staying relatively active, doesn't matter what I eat, I'm going to slowly lose weight over time because it's just kind of this budget, so to speak. I could spend that budget on ice cream. I could spend that budget on broccoli. I could spend that budget on Pop-Tarts. As long as I am in this calorie deficit, I will lose weight over time. However, satiety is something that's going to become very important. So you can eat pizza, you can eat ice cream, but after working with over 1,200 people, what I've seen, the most underrated thing is satiety. So satiety per calorie specifically. So this is going to be why the quote unquote clean foods are effective. So your broccoli, well, actually, let's just go melons, berries, and veggies. Those are always going to be important, lean protein. These are always going to be important because they pack a lot of satiety per calorie. It is not that they are anything magic otherwise than that, but they will keep you full as you eat less calories. So they're very useful to be in the mix. This is why I wouldn't recommend just eating pizza, pasta, ice cream. This is why you're going to want melons, berries, veggies to keep your overall daily satiety up. But also you're going to want protein, which is going to be very important for you to actually maintain your muscle or build more muscle, build more strength, because that's going to make sure that you're losing body fat. The 4th thing is not all pizza, pasta, ice cream is created equal. And so at many times of my, at many different times of my fitness career, being in the game, I've had times where I've gotten really lean eating pizza, gotten times where I've gotten really lean eating pasta. I've gotten times where I've gotten really lean eating ice cream. But typically in a deficit, you're not going to have Ben and Jerry's. You're not going to probably have, these are calorie dense forms. You're probably, so let's just go I'm going to write this down. Calorie dense. We're going to go deep dish pizza from Chicago, pounded with cheese. We're going to go with like some chicken Alfredo for the pasta. That's probably going to be more dense in calories. And then ice cream, we're going to go Ben and Jerry's. So if you're having these kinds of, these dense forms of those foods, you're probably going to struggle to fit those in your calorie budget. However, on the flip side, less cal dense, you could do a pizza on pita breads. You could do them on lavash breads. I did that deep into a prep. You could do flatbreads because you're going to have less total, and you could do it with like low-fat cheese. With low-fat cheese. Don't go fat-free because it doesn't melt. But you can do low-fat cheese. You can do like chicken. You can put chicken on it. You can even do turkey pepperoni. Turkey pepperoni. So you can do all these different things. So it's going to be a little bit different. And so let's go on the same case, less calorie dense. If we're going pasta, they have shirataki. It's escaping me, but there's other different kinds. There's a brand called Better Than Pasta or Better Than Noodles. It's on Amazon, and that's going to be like 20 calories for like a serving of pasta. It's ridiculous, but you can get away with a lot less calories. And then we're going to go tackle ice cream. You can do what I did to get super lean for my contest prep. You can do a Ninja Creamy. Depending on the recipe you do, mine was 200 calories with 30 grams of protein. It was ridiculous. You could do Enlightened. That's a brand that I've worked with a lot, and they're great people over there, and they make a great product. Enlightened ice cream, it's just low calorie ice cream. Halo Top does a good job as well, and I was just eating Halo Top when I was in Austin, Texas. It's low calorie ice cream, tends to have more protein, tends to have more fiber. So all in all is going to be, if we walk back through this, you can have pizza, pasta, and ice cream. The big thing is you have to maintain a calorie deficit to lose weight. Remember that portion size matters. So yes, size matters. The third thing is underrated details are satiety per calorie. So this is why it's important to still have high satiety foods in your diet, like melons, berries, vegetables, and lean proteins. And 4, not all pizza, pasta, ice cream is created equal. So you can go very calorie dense. It's going to be hard to maintain a deficit with deep dish pizza, chicken Alfredo, and Ben & Jerry's ice cream. But if you go with less calorie dense options like pizza on a pita bread or a lavash bread or a flat bread with low fat cheese, maybe chicken or turkey pepperoni, you're probably going to be able to get a lot more bang for your buck. And then on the pasta side, you can do different kinds of noodles that are going to have less calorie density. And then, of course, ice cream, you can do a creamy concoction. You can do Enlightened ice cream. You can do Halo Top. But there's plenty of options that are going to be able to allow you these things that you still love, eat those things that you love, but also be able to sustain a calorie deficit. So great question. Hope that's helpful. Best time and foods to work out. Best time foods to work out for bulking. Okay, so what I'm hearing here is, so what's the best time to work out? And we're going to go foods to bulk. That's kind of how I'm reading this. Best time to work out is going to be whenever you feel most ready to train. One time that I would say is probably not ideal is like if you wake up at like 6 a.m., probably don't train at like 6:15 a.m. Give yourself 30 minutes to 60 minutes to actually get awake and acclimated to the day. But, I'm someone who is up at like 4:15 sometimes and trying to be in the gym at 5 a.m. So I even kind of break my own rule. That's like the only time I wouldn't recommend. But yeah, I mean, anytime that works for you where you feel strong and can perform well. As far as foods, you're going to want to take the opposite recommendation I just gave for a calorie deficit. So let's look at this. So underrated detail. Let me see if I can do this correctly. So underrated detail I mentioned was going to be satiety per calorie. So we want to get as much satiety per calorie as we can when we're in a calorie deficit, because what we want to do is we want for this many calories, we want our satiety to be all the way up here. On the flip side, when we're bulking, if you're struggling to gain weight, what you want to do is you want to have this many calories, but keep your satiety, down here. So you just want to pack more calories per satiety pretty much. So instead of going melons, berries, vegetables, which are high volume, low calorie dense, you're going to want lower volume, higher calorie dense. Lower volume, higher calorie dense foods. So here's where I'm going to recommend a couple things. You may want to drink your protein instead of chewing it. So it's going to be less satiety by drinking your protein instead of chewing your protein sources. So drink protein shakes instead. The second piece is going to be, so drinking protein instead of chewing. Another one is going to be with like melons, berries, vegetables. Again, high fiber, high volume. You want lower volume. So dried fruits, you go dried berries. Hell, I mean, you could even go candy. If you hit your fiber for the day, you get your micronutrients for the day, you get your protein for the day, you can have candy. You can have the ice cream. You can have the pasta. You can have the pizza because we need to get into a calorie surplus. So remember the target. calorie surplus is what makes us gain weight. So hit your protein, hit your veggies, fiber, micros, etc. And then just get the calories in. And then just like mark how quickly is your weight increasing. And then you want to carry that over the long term. So usually when I'm talking about, sustaining a calorie deficit, you want to do the opposite if you're trying to sustain a surplus. And it's different times of different phases of the bulk. The first 5 pounds you gain, probably pretty easy to gain. The second 5, 10 pounds is probably going to be more challenging, probably going to be more difficult. So stay in the game and you'll get there. All right, Oscar. Hi there, Kevin. Hello, Oscar. How you doing? How old are you to achieve this great body? I appreciate that. I'm 30 years old, just turned 30 last month. I've been training since I've been like 15 years old. So 15 years of training coming up in May. And I'd say probably, 12 of those years were pretty decent overall in terms of like methodologies and all that. But just been in the game a long time. Hi, Sean. Okay, other than full ROM, wealth is health. I like that. Other than full ROM, what do you think contributed the most for your leg growth? Wow, you already got probably my first go-to. But I would say for me, the number one thing is just frequency. So for me, ever since I started training, I was very fortunate. I think I picked up push-pull legs first, which meant I had 2 leg days per week. A lot of people that I talk to when they're getting into the gym, what they'll do is like, chest day, arm day, back day, whatever else day. And then they'll be like, oh, I'll do legs, but I'll split it with shoulders. So we're getting like a half day every week of legs. For me, I was doing an entire day twice a week because push-pull legs is 3 days. I would do it twice in a week. I would do 2 times frequency. Over time, I've increased that frequency. In powerlifting, I would squat like 3 to 4 times per week. And then nowadays, when I was doing upper lower for a while, I would have 3 leg days per week or 3.5. And now I'm doing about, still around 4 leg days per week. But I break it up a little bit differently. Like I do like hamstrings, quads, a little bit of glutes on, one day of my 3-day rotation. And then the other one is more glute focused, which is also like back and butt day. So I'd say like average like 3 leg days per week. So if I had to give you a recommendation, I would say full range of motion squats, very big for growing your legs. I would say beating the logbook with that as a standard amount of technique. So full range of motion. The third thing is going to be high frequency. And I would say like, it's not every day, squat every day. I'd say like 2 to 3 times per week is probably going to be a good place to be. And I feel like you'll run laps around people because to have big legs, it's like you have big legs compared to what? If everyone had big legs, no one has big legs. So you have to be outlier to have something that stands out. So if you want to run laps around people that are doing 0.5 or 1 day per week of leg training, do 2 times per week. And that's what I would say is probably your best bang for your buck. So we have 2 times a week of leg training. And then I would say do full range of motion and try to beat the logbook as frequently as you can. Big legs are strong legs. What's going on, Jay? Is in ranking order, frequency, volume, or genetics, in your honest opinion? You've seen my genetics. I post about them enough. I didn't come out the womb with big legs. My dad doesn't have very big legs. It's been, for me, it's been 15 years of training. And luckily, sometimes early on, you just guess right. For me, I guessed right with the frequency piece. I was doing, at least 2 leg days per week. Then I got into powerlifting, and powerlifting, you get very strong. And like, if powerlifting taught me anything, it's that, again, big legs move big weight. So typically it's hard to like squat 500 or 600 pounds and not have big legs. It's very hard to do. So with that being said, focus on getting very strong with pretty deep squats. And I think they're going to grow pretty well and probably do 2 to 3 times per week frequency. So my honest opinion is, and usually in terms of these 3 things we're talking about, I want to say genetics, but like genetics in this case, I mean, it's my bias probably right now of just saying like, again, I've been training 15 years that, I think I worked hard with, I can't say I had outlier genetics because like my first 3 years of training, it didn't look like I trained. I just been doing this thing for a long time. Frequency, I would say, is very important, but frequency and volume are tied together. Like it's hard to increase your frequency and decrease your volume. So I would say the frequency is going to beget more volume on the weekly, and it's going to spread it out sufficiently so you're getting some value from that additional volume. So I would say frequency is going to be number 1. Get 2 or 3 times per week of leg training. The volume is then going to be increased, so get like maybe The big muscle groups for legs is going to be glutes, hamstrings, and quads. So for all those, if you're doing between like 3 and 10 sets per session, and you do that 2 or 3 times per week, you're gonna be pretty good. And then genetics, I mean, I'm 6'2", and so yeah, it's hard to fill that out, I think, over time. And so overall, that's kind of like what my opinion is. I think if you squat and get really strong, training 2 to 3 times per week with your legs, I think you're going to get strong and big legs in 10 years. All right, what else we got? Hello. Cool. All right, so we got through all those questions. Let's see what questions we got on Instagram, if we have any questions. All right, what we got? But great questions coming in from Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. So I appreciate you guys with the questions. Thanks. Thanks, Chaps boy. One of the best mentors I've ever had, Coach Kevin. Appreciate that a ton. How old are you? Covered that. 30. Your boy is 30 now. So that was it's a new thing. So still getting used to it. All right. What other questions we got? Scrolling Instagram. All right. I think we're pretty good then. And then next week, again, I'm going to be in Italy. So not going to be doing a Flex RX. So I have a good streak. I'm proud. 7 weeks. But it's going to be off next week. How much does sodium matter? So I think someone who's great at looking at this is Alan Aragon. So my opinion is based off, there's a meta-analysis that showed in terms of all-cause mortality and like cardiovascular events, sodium is a hot topic there. There was a J-shaped curve. It shows reverse. It's reversed the way that I'm showing you guys because it's mirrored. But it showed that cardiovascular events were high when people had under 2,000 milligrams of sodium per day. It decreased. It was cardiovascular events and all-cause mortality were low when between 3 to 5 grams per day, so 3,000 to 5,000 milligrams of sodium per day. So there was lower all-cause mortality and cardiovascular events. And then when there were 6 grams plus, it was increased. Because our bodies can't make sodium out of nothing. So if we have very low, we have to, I think it's the aldosterone system. We have to run an aldosterone system. We have to rely on that to keep our blood pressure high. And also when anyone is increasing their amount of activity with training, you're going to sweat. When you sweat, you're not just giving off water, you're also giving off sodium as well. So I'm someone who's a proponent of being in that 3 to 5 grams per day range. If you're very active and drinking a lot of sodium, drinking a lot of water, that's going to allow your body to flush out additional excess sodium. So you're going to be able to, your body just controls the concentration of sodium in the urine. So if you have too much, that can be excreted. If you have sufficient water intake, and also if you're, again, sufficiently active. So for those reasons, that's kind of where I am. I think Stan Efferding has some good work on this, and also Alan Aragon. I would do some further reading on that. But yeah, I'd say if you're in that 3 to 5 grams per day, if you're active, I think you're going to be in a pretty good spot. Shiitake noodle is the pasta. Thank you, Bick. Thank you, Bikram. Halo Top, yes, that is another cheat code for the ice cream. The caramel brownie flavor. That one hits. That one is goated. They have a chocolate cake one that I tried while in Austin, Texas, and that one was good too. I had like the chocolate crumbles. It was really good. Genetics, they say only 20% of it. I think it's kind of like, these are just like, I think the word is arbitrary numbers. Like, is it 15% genetics? Is it 21% genetics? It like doesn't freaking matter. Like, just get strong in the gym, keep showing up, and like if you're training hard, like the gains are gonna come. But like, yeah, when people try to give like, oh, it's 20%. Oh, I believe it's 25%. It's like, what are we even arguing about? Because there's never going to be like a proof piece. It's definitely a place there because I've seen people get huge in a year's time. But also I think they're probably getting some things accidentally correct in their training, probably training really hard. I've seen people blow up in a year's time. And then I've seen myself the first 3 years or so, I made gains. I got stronger. I got bigger. And I'm just like, I'm spread out because I'm 6 foot. So I'm a taller guy. And so I've seen both ends. And so I think that you can, of course, have outlier genetics. But I think like in terms of building muscle, drug-free, if you can give it, I hate to say this, if you can give it 10 years, consistent 5 days a week training, beating the logbook, getting stronger, I think you'll be pretty darn jacked. You'll be pretty proud about it. But that's going to close us up for this week. Thank you guys for, hanging out and watching this one. I will see you guys in 2 weeks for the next Flex RX. That is going to be episode 8. If you're interested in joining the Healthy Flex Prescription, where we've helped over 1,200 people lose lose fat, gain muscle, and ultimately build their self-confidence. Then you can apply in the, I believe I have a link in the bio that's going to be here as well, or go to hejnasty.com/coaching. You can apply there, get on a call and see if it's a good fit for both sides. But we'll talk to you guys all very soon, and we'll see you. If you're following me on Instagram, expect some pasta and pizza pics coming up this next week. Have a good week. Bye.